Well, this is another thing that we talked about on the flight that I think is important to bring up. Remember when there was this talk about the state monument or the national monument in Utah, and Patagonia put that thing on their page, the president stole your land.
Yeah.
Explain what actually happened, because it's not what everybody thinks it is. And Ranella said it best, that if you say the president stole your land, you're not being accurate with your words. That's not what happened.
It was, Patagonia did an awesome marketing job. I mean, and those efforts by saying the president stole your land, from what I've heard, it resulted in a 15% increase in business for them. So it worked great. But what the truth is a lot of people felt like Obama, before he left office, did an overreach on the national monument protection. And so there's protecting a national monument, and then, which is a certain area, he wanted to encompass 2 million acres in that national monument designation, which seems excessive. What Zinke says, the Secretary of Interior, he went in there and he said, that's an excessive, that's an overreach. I want to scale it back to what it was before Obama did that. Now,
why is it excessive, though? This is what gets confusing to people. People think that protecting the land is never excessive.
Right. What he wants to do is make sure people have access. And it's like, okay.
So what's the difference between the way it is under Obama and the way it is under Zinke?
It'll be, Zinke scaled it back to what it was before, which that would be, it's still national forest, still federal land, but you'd be able to, and I'm not sure if it was wilderness or how the access would be, but what Zinke would say is that, like, I would be able to go into the land all the time, that 2 million acres, because I might be considered by some to be elite, because I can walk for 20 miles. Not everybody in the United States can walk 20 miles to get somewhere.
So they want to put road systems
There's
there.
road systems already.
There's road systems already, but...
Wants to maintain the roads.
So, but if it was a national monument,
right,
then no road systems? Like, what is the difference?
I think the road systems would be gated off, and it'd be walk-in
only.
Foot traffic only, instead of access through the roads.
Now, why did Obama make it 2 million acres?
I don't know.
And close off the roads?
I'm not sure.
So it's still federal land. So it's not like the government sold the land off.
No.
And no mining permits have been issued.
No.
There's no plans to drill or anything like that.
No. When I looked that up, because I was unsure about it, and I talked with Zinke about it, just because it's, I'm learning all this as we go also. And I was concerned when I read the president stole your land. I'm like, what's this about? And so what it is what Zinke wants to do is he wants to just make sure people of not all abilities, because it's not like we want roads on every mountain, but have access to national forests.
So people that can drive in 4x4s, those little off-road
on existing
Ranger
roads.
Trucks. Yeah,
on existing roads. And it's just like national forest now. National forest now has roads.
Right.
Designated wilderness areas, because then I talked about that too. I'm like, well, okay, I understand access. I said, that's great. I want people to be able to enjoy the great outdoors also. But I also grew up hunting the Eagle Cap Wilderness, which is Oregon's largest wilderness area, 356,000 acres of no roads. And I don't want roads in there.
Right.
I don't want access in the middle of the heart of that wilderness, because it's some of the most pristine, beautiful country in the lower 48. I like it like that. So we still need to be able to protect those areas. But this wasn't, in this one, this was Bears Ears in Utah. This wasn't changing anything, opening up anything, or this big nefarious plan of mining and stripping everything out of there.
That's what everybody's worried about.
Right, they were. But all it did, it went back to what it was before. And at that time when I researched it, there had been no mining permits. That, from what I understand, is there is no mineral. There's minerals in there, but not enough to warrant going in there and setting up a full mineral extraction mine.
So the only reason that they changed the distinction is to allow people to have more access to that wilderness through roads that already exist.
It wouldn't be wilderness, it'd be national forest.
Okay,
the federal lands, yeah.
So why the uproar then? Like, why is everybody so confused? Is it a lack of communication? Is it a lack of understanding about what the difference in the distinctions of the two things are?
It's just creating, a negative narrative. It's saying it's something changed. Obama had it this way. Zinke scaled it back. that right there is like, why, what's going on, not really doing the research about, he's just putting it back to what it was because he thought that it was a overreach by Obama. So it's just, you know, these outfits, they're in business. You know, if everything's going good, there's really no reason for people to get fired up and contribute money. You know, some of these, it's political in some respects. Business is political.
That's very cynical, though. I see what you're saying, but I think that really what's going on is people are very concerned, and they see any movement and change.
People are concerned, but I'm talking the businesses.
Yeah, but even the businesses, like Patagonia's business is about the outdoors. That's their whole business.
Yeah.
So they see anything that's a change, and the Trump administration, especially in the beginning when it came in, people were really worried about them in terms of environmental concerns, right?
Yeah.
Because they had opened up offshore drilling. They had done a lot of things that people were really freaked out about. They had opened up, what was the area, Jamie, in Alaska where they were going to open up drilling that was near salmon runs that people were very, very concerned about? They were concerned about the idea of money above nature.
Yeah.
Like, and then
me too.
Right. And who's making that money? You're not making money.
No.
I'm not making any of that money. So someone else is going to make money off of what's supposed to be our land and our public land, which you and I could maybe go, even though you don't like salmon, we could go salmon fishing in this land. Well, it could get fucked up by someone else making billions of dollars in oil or natural gas or whatever the fuck we do if they contaminate that. I don't want that.
No, I don't want
you
that.
don't want that either. And the people from Patagonia don't want that either. So when they see something like this come up, their red flags go up. They want to get people outraged. They want to get people activated because they think that there might be a chance that if you protest enough, you can stop something like this happening before it does.
Right.
Because if you do look at like what happened in Alaska with that big oil spill in the 80s, or what happened with the BP oil spill in the Gulf Coast, like that shit's devastating.
Yeah,
when something like that does happen, someone else is profiting, making fucking billions of dollars while our planet that we all share is getting fucked up. You're not making a nickel off of it. I'm not making a nickel off of it, but they're making billions of dollars and they're fucking up the land. And by the government, by Trump or anybody else, whoever's opening it up, giving them access to drill and to do all this thing, you open up the possibility of ruining something that's amazing.
Well, so there's always going to be a balance, though. You can't just say, okay, nobody can drive past this point forever. You know what I mean? There's always
But you're saying that about the Eagle Cap Wilderness. You don't want them to drive past
There's got to be areas. There's got to be areas we have to protect, wilderness areas. But for example, where we've elk hunted in Colorado, right? Big bulls, awesome elk hunting. There's natural gas wells all over.
Right.
It's great elk hunting.
Yeah, they've got to figure it out where they're not. Yeah, they're not fucking it up.
So I don't want things wiped out in a huge mineral extraction mine where there's used to be beautiful whatever. I don't want that.
Beautiful rivers that are polluted now.
But you can't just say we're not doing anything anywhere. It doesn't work. Well, so there can be a balance, just like where we've hunted in Colorado.
There can be a balance, but the real concern that the average person has, me included, is that someone is going to profit. And by doing that, where it's not going to benefit you or anybody we know, it's going to fuck it up for everybody else.
Yeah.
That's the real concern.
No, for sure. I know. That's why I've tried to, that's why I've wanted to be involved. Like, I'm on that council, which has nothing to do with public lands in North America, but it's given me a way to get in there and try to learn more. That's all I'm trying to do.
Well, you also were involved with when Jason Chavez had that proposal in Utah to sell off chunks of public land. You were one of the people that sat down with him and got his take on it. And ultimately, because the outcry from people who love the outdoors and hunters and fishermen, that was stopped.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And Jason, he took a lot of shit, but he seems like a very reasonable guy.
I think so, too. It's, he's out of politics now.
What is he doing?
He's on Fox News.
Oh, he's a correspondent now?
Yeah. He's a congressman out of Utah.
Yeah.
And I went back to D.C. and talked to him. That was H.R. 622, and that was they wanted to sell just what they determined disposable public land. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. Who says what's disposable? Because what's disposable to you might not be to me. Maybe it's a great hunting area. So I didn't really there wasn't really a way to determine what was disposable.
Right.
That's what caught my attention. And not just mine, but even people like Steve Rinella and a lot of people in the loop and in the know. And I got advice from, let's see, Randy Newberg, Steve Rinella, Joel Webster at the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Program. All those guys are really experts in the field.
Backcountry hunters and anglers.
You didn't talk to them. I didn't.
All those people were super active about
Right.
getting people to complain and protest this.
And so that one, I did get a chance to go back there, and I did a podcast with Chaffetz, and yeah, he pulled it. It was gone. Never happened. But yes, I mean, we just need to be educated on it. And I just don't like the I don't know, without that education, jumping in on the bandwagon and saying, yeah, the president stole my land. It's
Right.
like, what,
Well,
is that even true?
Well, I always defer to Rinella when it comes to things like this because he's so well versed in it. So when he said that you're not being accurate with your words, I had to look into it deeper. But I didn't really understand it totally until I was talking to you and you were explaining to me the distinction between how it was before Obama was in office, what Obama changed, and then bringing it back to how it was before. So it's still federal land. No one sold it off.
No.
It's not. It's just giving people more access through roads. But amazing how when something like that happens, there's this gigantic outcry.
Yeah.
And everybody freaks out.
Yeah. It's confusing. It can be confusing because I'll read two different things and I'll be like, oh my God, what is it this or is it that?
Going on?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's where and people say, oh, well, Zinke, he was lying to your face. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe, but.
On video? I doubt it.
I don't.
He doesn't seem like that guy.
He seems like he's a straight I asked him about, he was getting beat up because the National Parks Advisory Board wouldn't meet with them. That's what it was. And so he said, Zinke doesn't care about national parks and he won't meet with the advisory board. And so I asked him about that because that was in the news and that was just like, man, maybe he doesn't care about public land. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. So I wanted to ask him about that. I'm like, well, they resigned in protest because you wouldn't meet with him. What was that? And he goes, well, yeah, you're right. I wouldn't meet with him. He goes, here's how it went. I came in as Secretary of Interior and in charge of I don't know how many different councils, just like the international one I'm on and this park advisory board that what we're talking about. And there's, I think, 200 and some that thousands of employees, billions of dollars. And all he asked was for these advisory boards, he wanted a report written up that said, what have you done in the last 2 years? What are you working on now? And what's your goals for the next 2 years? Once you provide me with that report, then I'll get up to speed and I'll meet with you. They never did it. So he didn't meet with them. And that was it. So the story was he wouldn't meet with them and they resigned in protest. But the other half of the story was he asked them to do something so he could get up to speed and be educated on what's going on. And he never supplied it.
Well, if they are the typical government employees, and what is the typical government employee? Incompetent, lazy.
Wait, I'm a government employee.
But
keep going.
Typical.
Oh, typical.
What do people think of? What do people think of? They think of incompetent, lazy.
Yeah.
Entitled.
Bureaucrats.
Yeah, and they've got this job, and all of a sudden he's asking them to provide not just tell them what they've done, but tell them what they're going to do, and provide like a framework for the future. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
When someone's a lazy fuck. if you're just
so.
kind of half-assing your job and just showing up, and I'm not saying they are.
Yeah,
who knows?
I don't know. I don't know him.
Also, they might have resented him for whatever their preconceived notions of who he is coming into this job.
They were, I don't know if all 12 of them, I think there's 12, but I think they were all Democrat.
Oh, those son of a bitches.
So, I mean, obviously he's a Republican.
They're all unpaid volunteers also.
Unpaid, right?
Unpaid volunteers.
Yeah, and that's I'm an unpaid volunteer on that council. It's like you don't do this for money; you do it to make a difference.
Yeah, but if they're going to be a volunteer, even if they're an unpaid volunteer, and if he asks you to have a plan, you should probably have a plan.
Yeah.
I mean,
Otherwise, why
are you doing it? Because I guarantee you, there's someone out there that would have a plan.
Yeah.
And look, especially when it comes to something that's important as national parks and public land, things that are like really dear and important to people.
Yeah.
This is something that you want to have whoever these volunteers are. If you're going to appoint them, you want to have the best ones for the job.
Right.
So asking someone to write a plan up, and if that's the only reason, see, it's tough because we don't have their take on it.
Right. Well, I read what they wrote.
And what did they write?
They just said that he wouldn't meet with them and whatever.
So he wouldn't meet with them until they did what he asked.
They didn't say that. He told me that.
But that's what he says.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of in his camp. If we're looking at it 100% accurately.
Yeah. No. And he told me face to face that's what happened. So I mean, you can say, well, I don't believe anybody. I don't believe
Right.
I don't believe what you just told me. I don't believe what. At some point, you have to be like, man, it seemed like he's telling me the truth, and I believe it, and that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense that they would not want to do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What have you been working on? Well, I check my email and go on Facebook when I'm at work. Sometimes I look at pine cones.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, he seems like hardworking, pretty demanding, but he cares. I mean, he's in there trying to. So the Secretary of Interior before Zinke, I'm like, what? I don't even know what that is. So
Yeah.
that's what kind of involvement that person had in the lives of hunting people like me or fishermen. And so when I didn't even know who it was, and come to find out her name was Sally Jewell, who was Obama's appointee before Trump appointed Zinke. So I like the fact that Zinke's at SHOT Show. He's had me out there. I'm on this council. At least I have a seat at the table to say, and I don't know, I might get kicked off this council. I might never get invited back because I'll ask him, so what's going on with this? But right now I have a seat at the table. So whatever, I consider that a win. At least I can try to find out and learn.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because everything that I've heard about him, that I've read in the media, unless I'm reading like a hunting website or something like that.
Yeah.
Everything I've heard is like that it's a horror show, that he's bringing on all these trophy hunters. And there was an article equating you with being a trophy hunter. And that this council that he's put together is just this disgusting sort of justification for trophy hunting.
Yeah.
And that they're only putting it together so that wealthy people can bring back their elephants that they shoot in Africa.
Yeah. I've read that too. I mean, for me, and I'm not, I've never killed an elephant. I've never killed a lion. And every person, so even the people on the council that have, they do care about animals. They care. They're volunteers, just like on the Parks Advisory Board, and they want to make a positive difference. I know every person on that. I don't know every person personally, but I know they care about the people of Africa, and that's why they understand how it works. They've been there. They've seen it. The guys who I've hunted with there personally, awesome people, hardworking people. The one guy on my last trip there to Tanzania, his daughter was in college, and he'd been a professional hunter over there for over 20 or 30 years, and she was going to college now getting her degree. I mean,
well, let's explain. What a professional hunter over there is not what we think about it over here. What we think of over here, a professional hunter would be a guy who hunts.
Oh,
and that's what he does for a living.
Right.
A professional hunter is essentially a guide.
A guide. Yeah. They call them PHs or professional hunters. So, I mean, because of hunting, he's able to send his daughter to college. And I mean,
and now that's gone. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying every person,
but a lot of them.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
And it's not getting any better because right now, so that policy, Trump said, well, we're going to review it on a case-by-case basis. So he didn't say, okay, it's legal, now everybody can hunt and go and bring their trophies back. He said, we'll review each one on a case-by-case basis. So that still doesn't make it that good for a hunter because they say, well, I'm not going to book a hunt if I don't know for a fact I can bring my trophy back.
Yeah.
So it's not really that much better.
Do you want to make some money? Then you can make a lot of money on cryptocurrency. Buy, sell and trade Bitcoins and other cryptos using links in the description. And don't forget to smash a like button for this video. See you, mate.